What's up, Hard Chargers? My name's Kyle Miller, and this is Hodgepodgepreneur. If this is your first time, welcome. Enjoy the scenery. I worked really hard on putting it together, so you don't know I'm in my basement. Today we are going to be talking about something that I have a lot of, and that is degrees. Now, it is something that I also don't necessarily believe in, and that is degrees. So, we're going to talk about the MBA in particular today, but I do want to let you know that I have a couple of associates, a bachelor's, an MBA, and I am done with my doctorate except for the dissertation. So they call it ABD, all but dissertation, or as they call you when they're making fun of you, all but done. For those of you just now finding the channel, a little bit about myself. I did 9 years in the military, 2 tours in Afghanistan, made it to a rank of E5, so I had some people that I supervised, and so I learned a lot about leadership and teamwork there. When I was in, I knocked out a couple of associates and all but a little bit of my bachelor's. When I got out, I used the GI Bill to help me knock out the rest of my bachelor's, an MBA, and almost all of my doctorate. So military was good to me, and that's the only reason that I was able to afford to get all these degrees. I don't think that I would have gotten as many of them if it wasn't for free. So I'm not encouraging anybody to go out and rack up that much debt to get the degrees I got. One of my associates was in criminal justice. Another one was instructor of technologies and military science. Nobody knows what that means. The other one was in history. I thought I wanted to be a history teacher for a while. Can't stand mouthy kids. And then the other one is the MBA, which is probably the more useful of all of those when it came to the civilian sector and trying to get jobs. And the doctorate is in leadership, which for the most part is just talking about feelings. But today we're actually going to home in on the MBA in particular, in my opinion, after owning multiple businesses as to whether or not the MBA was worth it for me, looking back on it and the things I've learned along the way. Let's jump into it. First of all, I want to say that I think there's only 3 reasons that you would need a degree in order to be an entrepreneur. Reason number 1 is required by law. So what I mean by that is if you want to open a doctor's clinic, you have to be a doctor. In order to be a doctor, get a degree. If you want to open a law firm, same thing. You have to get that Juris Doctorate, get that degree. If you want to be a CPA, you have to go and get a degree. But there are a lot of things as an entrepreneur, a lot of businesses that you could run where you don't need a degree so much as a license or nothing at all. So you don't need a license in order to paint or do sheetrock, but you do need a license in order to be a plumber or an electrician. If you wanted to do bookkeeping for people, you don't need a license for that, but you do need the skill for it. Which brings me to my next point. Number 2 reason that you should get a degree is because there is a skill that you need to learn. So if there is a skill that you need to learn and the only way to learn it is a degree, then you should go get it. Now, the other caveat to that is that if there is a skill that you need to learn and the fastest way to learn it is by getting a degree, then I think that's important as well. There are some skills that you could learn through on-the-job training, but it may take you 10 times longer. Maybe you don't have the time and the money to learn the hard way so much as if you got the degree, then you would learn it quicker. So that's the other reason, to steepen the learning curve of learning this skill. So you could learn the skill the hard way, but a degree would cut that time frame in half, cut that learning curve in half, and make it quicker for you to be able to get started. Those are 2 reasons right there. You need it, legally required for you to have it in order to do what you're wanting to do, or it's a skill that you can't learn any other way. And the third reason, which is a lot more subjective, right? Like those are pretty concrete, and that is to network and to have that credential. And when I say to network and have that credential, I mean that if you're going to Harvard and you get your MBA from Harvard, I don't know if they offer it or not, I just assume they do, and you have Harvard MBA on your resume, I imagine that looks pretty dang good. If Stanford offers it, if Penn University or Penn State offers it, that looks pretty good. I don't think it is impactful if you go and get it from one of these universities that you see a lot of commercials on TV for example, and I won't say which one so I don't hurt anybody's feelings. I think we all know which ones I'm talking about. If you're not getting it for one of those 3 reasons, I don't think that you need it. You could probably do what you're wanting to do with just getting a license or doing an internship or doing an apprenticeship. The other thing is, if you are going to get your MBA, I think you really need to think heavily about doing in-house classes instead of online classes. Now, I know that everybody's different, but I don't think that some things change. And that is that online communication is not the best way to learn from other people and what they bring to the table. To me, the beauty of going for an MBA is that there's other people in there who are more than likely already in a position at a job or looking to get in positions at a job and increase their skill set. And so each of them bring different things to the table and provide different angles of view on something that nobody's ever had before. So I was sitting in a class with people who worked for large companies like Smucker over here in Ohio. There were some people in that class who were in the marketing department. And I am a small business entrepreneur, and so I have to do marketing. And when we took the marketing class together, the things that they were talking about in class were very high-level stuff, but they didn't have to deal with any of the foundational things. So some of the things they were talking about were relevant to folks who were working for Fortune 500 companies or really big established firms. But for the other people in the class who were doing startup businesses themselves or were working for small 20-person firms or something like that, marketing was much more complex than just being able to throw money at it and see what works. Like, you really had to be targeted with it. And so just that exchange between me and them about like, you know, these high levels, I thought it was really cool that at those high levels they could do all these analysis and everything. But that's when you have a whole team of people with you. Whereas they think it was really neat that I wasn't able to do some of the things they could do. So I had to learn how to be more efficient rather than trying to throw money at it and see what works. The other thing with in-house that's better than online is the ability to network. In the doctoral class, which I know is not the MBA class, but same concept, in the doctoral class, I eventually want to write a kid's book. I eventually want to write a book. And there was a guy in there who works for a publication company. And so it was good to get to know him. Likewise, in the MBA program, there was a professor who used to work for Lockheed Martin, and he was constantly hooking people up with connections that he knew or that he does know, and networking groups and advice. The other thing about in-class that's better than online is the rabbit holes that you go down. Now, I know that the younger, more immature people, when you're in class, you know, you just want to get through the class because it's something you got to check the box on. But if you're going for the MBA, as an entrepreneur especially, or an aspiring entrepreneur, you want to go down these rabbit holes. Whenever people start talking about things, they're a little bit off topic, but are still relevant to running a business. You got to listen to those things and let those take their course in the classroom environment. And I think a lot of professors realize that and they allow that. Sometimes it's annoying and sometimes it goes way off topic from what you want, but still I think it's a good thing to have those rabbit holes to go down because it offers, again, a perspective that you never thought of before or something you never saw before. The last part of doing in-house versus online is that you get that opportunity to really connect with the professors. And once you connect with the professors, you can start asking them questions. And if you don't want to take people down the rabbit hole in class like I talked about, because not everybody appreciates that, you can stay after class and talk with them. So the thing that I think sucked the most about the MBA program was the fact that they always used huge businesses as examples. So in the accounting classes that I took, for example, we use public trading ledgers and balance sheets from huge companies that had multi-million dollars. The books were so big that we were looking at. When you would see 8,000, it wasn't talking about 8,000. It was talking about 8 million. But in order to save space on the sheet, they put it as 8,000, and you had to remember that that's 8 million that it's talking about. So to me, that's not very practical as a small business entrepreneur because you can't really grasp the concept of cash flow. You can't really grasp the concept of accrual basis versus a cash basis. And those I have found out only through doing actual bookkeeping and seeing the ebbs and flow of business from a practical standpoint. It wasn't from the classes that I took. I took marketing classes that talked about marketing strategies. They don't teach you about click-through rate. They don't teach you about cost per clicks. They don't teach you about retention rate. They don't teach you about bounces. They don't teach you about retention time. They don't teach you about any of that. So in order to learn that, you got to go through a totally different program, something in computer science or marketing specifically. I had to take a Fred Pryor class in order to learn about Excel spreadsheets. Go figure. If you've already decided that it's something you want to do, the only reason you should join an MBA program is if you are already in the weeds. And what I mean by that is you are either already employed with a small business or an organization, or you are already starting your small business. I think it requires you actually being able to implement it and use it in your daily life in order to get any kind of benefit from it. It's kind of like whenever I was trying to learn French in Arkansas. Nobody speaks French in Arkansas. I never got to practice it other than in the classroom. You can take the stuff that they're using for the big businesses and you can distill it down smartly into something you can use for yourself. Keep this in mind. Whatever you learn in the MBA program is only skin deep. You're only scratching the surface of everything that they're talking about. When you start your first business and people call you up and they say they're a Google partner, what do they mean by that? Everybody's a Google partner when they call you up. I can get you 1 million impressions. I can get you 500 likes. What does that mean? Is that going to get you any kind of return? When they're talking about sales, are we talking about actually getting in front of people and selling to them? They talk about sales only as a numbers thing. There's actually a relationship involved in sales. There's actually a mental science that goes on in the psychology of the sales process that you have to understand. And so that's why I created this channel. The MBA is great for giving you a baseline understanding. Honestly, I think the baseline understanding that you get in an MBA is only scratching the surface. I think that the true understanding you get is being able to have something that you're currently engulfed in and being able to take the MBA program at the same time and run the two parallel. That's the only way that I think that I would have got benefit out of it. And most of the time, I was ahead of everybody in my class, not because I'm so smart or because I got it all figured out, but because of all the lessons I learned from the franchise and all those folks who have made careers out of doing what they do and teaching me what they taught me. So I'll do a video that talks about what I learned in a franchise versus what I learned in college. But for right now, I do think that that is my best opinion on the MBA program and whether or not it's good for you and whether or not it's useful. So take it for what it's worth. My opinion in 50 cents will get you a crappy cup of coffee. But if you did like this and you want to hear more about this topic, or if you want to hear more about being an entrepreneur, then please do hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell as well, so that way you get the alerts whenever we post new videos. New videos are coming out weekly. Sometimes twice a week. We try to get out 2 a week, but due to kids and life and stuff, sometimes it's only 1 a week. But I cover all the things that make you a better entrepreneur, all the different layers that are within there, and we do it all in bite-sized chunks, so that way you don't feel overwhelmed or feel like it's something that you can't do. Being an entrepreneur is awesome, and it's really nice to know that there was money out there sitting there and you went out and picked it up through your own accord, and it's not something where you're getting a paycheck working a 9-to-5 job. So with that being said, I hope that you liked the video. I hope that you'll subscribe, and I hope that you'll follow us for the next bit of it. And until next time, my name's Kyle Miller, and thanks for watching. Keep charging hard, hard chargers.